Hello and welcome to the Tech Lunch podcast, where we encourage our listeners to learn something new about tech every week. This can range from learning about new and exciting applications to the advancements in coding and technology. If you are always learning, you will always be a step above the rest. Take the time during lunch or during a break to listen and learn, kind of like a lunch and learn, but for the ears. This podcast will open the listeners' ears to new and exciting technologies they may have not been privy to in the past. These topics will range from manufacturing technologies to data collection technologies and everything in between. Hello, I'm Nick.
Hello, I'm Ed.
Hi, I'm Bridget.
And this week we're going to touch on, STEM education and, kind of where it's at, the failures, the movement behind it, and, pretty much, what it means in the grand scheme of things. And also, we're really going to touch on, how we can make it better. Because right now, people see or hear STEM, they hear it in schools, and the problem is most of the time we really don't see anybody acting on it. We see the STEM toys now in like Target, Walmart, whatever, Amazon, that you can buy for kids and get the kids started on it. However, if it's something that you start them now, you need to continue. And, I think that's where we're at. However, we're going to, kind of dive into that world and kind of see, what we're talking about when it comes down to STEM. So, when I start bringing up, STEM education and kind of where it's at in the grand scheme of things, Bridget, kind of what are you thinking about when we say that, hey, there might be a failure here, or what is going right or what is going wrong? I know it's kind of a loaded question.
No, not really. The kids seem to not understand exactly what it is. They seem to, I don't know, they think that just having that device in their hand is the answer to the question, that they're going to understand how to do everything because they now have a computer in their hand. But they don't see the grand scheme of things, that they need to understand how to do things on that computer. And the teachers don't seem to get that they need to connect it to whatever their subject area is in a more intensive way.
Okay. Ed, kind of when you talk about STEM, from the OT standpoint, what are you looking at?
From my perspective, like I said, for me, it's always about how can we use these tools and get people excited about doing some of these things with STEM. When we say STEM should not be put in a box and say these are the things for STEM. STEM
Right.
should be an evolving system. STEM should be things like, hey, you have this device. Let me show you how it works. Let me show you how to better utilize it. Let me show you how to take this device and make the world better. I
Right.
think that's what STEM should focus on. How can we make the world better with STEM?
Yeah. And, me coming from the IT standpoint, I look at it as, we are too far along in, what the society is now to be able to worry about, kids coming out of high school, college, and whatnot, not knowing how to utilize a device, which, is technically a computer in the grand scheme of things, or, what are these small, issues that we're dealing with, how, I don't understand how we can deal with, computer illiteracy at this point, however, in the IT world, and most people don't think it, we have to use STEM on a daily basis. We have to think about, what is my next bet? If I do this, what is my outcome for this? If you think about it, C++ is a great language when you're talking about STEM because it has to deal with math. You can build calculators out of it. You can do all this stuff with it. In higher level, colleges and stuff like that, C++ coding is considered a math course, of all things. And I think that's kind of, and I know, if anybody, sees anything wrong with what I'm getting ready to say, I think that's kind of where, if we're going to dive into the first failure, where the first failure is. And the first failure is the fact that, we have this, loaded curriculum that's out there right now that's not being expanded upon at no fault of the teachers. It's at the fault of industry, is at the fault of the school boards, It's the fault of, the government, standpoint at that point, because it's not allowing our teachers to expand that current curriculum. If I'm wrong, somebody please correct me, or if you want to elaborate on that, be my guest. Because it's, one of those things of where there's so many things out there right now that we can hit. And, and this kind of goes to the point of, Bridget, what do you think the failure is as far as curriculum development for in the STEM education world?
Truly, I think there's just no connection between how that technology works with your mathematics, your sciences, and anything. I mean, they don't see that there is a connection between all those different subjects. They see them as, I went to math class, I went to science class, and that's all they see. The students themselves do not see that there is a connection until you make that connection as the educator.
And the thing that I think we should take from this portion of the conversation is, when we say failure, we're saying that it's not necessarily a failure as in the system is broken. It's a failure that the system didn't evolve.
Right.
Exactly.
Point of improvement.
It's a failure. It's a failure because each subject should tie in together.
Right. Exactly.
Each subject should layer.
Right.
Each subject should build on each thing. Okay, it's a little bit different with English and literature and science, or in history. But when we're talking science, we can take those concepts and build on them. Yeah. Well, you want to do that when we're talking about STEM. We're talking about things like robotics. We're talking about things like applications or apps that people use on phones. We're talking about things like using Python, using C++. We're talking about things like cybersecurity. We're even talking about things like data analysis. We're talking about those things.
That's heavily math oriented.
Being incorporated and not as a full scale course, but you're incorporating and interweaving these things into the curriculum, and it builds. And then when we get to a level, when we get to, just like in college, you start with small steps, you build with intermediate steps, and then you get to advanced. Yeah. If you start that in the middle school, then when you get to where they get to junior high and high school, these kids are already advanced.
Now that leads me to another point. When is too early to begin STEM education?
There's no too early. I mean, elementary school, they need that. Even in kindergarten, they need to understand how those connections are made, because it helps them as they grow through the years to see that all of these things are interwoven, that there's no disconnect between your science, your math, your English, your history, that everything comes together and makes you a whole person.
Should be foundational at that point. STEM should be your concrete foundation of education.
Amen.
It should be a pillar. And the thing is, I see now that we don't have that. You have some schools out there who that is their bread and butter. Their bread and butter is STEM. And, you have all these industries sitting out there, automotive, aerospace, and stuff like that, defense contracting and stuff like that, that could get behind this stuff. And, that kind of leads me to, one of those, kind of crazy ideas is, why don't we come up with a STEM textbook, bring all the industries together to come up with this program that all teachers can teach out of, at least from the science and technology and engineering and math standpoint. Because you have all these different things that can tie all of that together. AutoCAD, Tinkercad if you want to do the free way of doing things, 3D printing and stuff like that. Everything requires a little bit of everybody to do that. And why not give one textbook? It could be a supplementary textbook if you really wanted to do it that way, that teachers can get the choice. Hey, let me take something out of that textbook and kind of tie it all together. I don't know if that's would even be, worthwhile to jump on, but I think that, it would definitely be something that would help. And I think if we had industry involved in that to help create that, we would have more of a common tie. Because most people don't understand that, when you start dealing with, robotics, for instance, or, CNC machines, you're dealing in microns. You're dealing in, millimeters and stuff like that of, a possibility of an issue. But you're also dealing with X and Y axis. So you're kind of tying in your geometry, your algebra, your calculus, all into these common subjects. But also, if you think about it, even at the elementary school level, you have a STEM course. At the middle school level, you kind of tie it more in. However, you're exposing these kids to more and more and more different technologies, as we go. I don't know if that's, kind of outside the realm of thinking, or if I'm just kind of overthinking this current problem.
No, I mean, I think that's where education wants to go. I know as an educator myself, as a math teacher in a middle school, I would love for my students to see that connection between everything and not just, well, you're teaching me, y equals mx plus b. Well, what does that mean? How does that connect to science and graphing? How does that connect to your English and being able to read a problem and disseminate that information? How are all those things put together? I would love for my students to understand that.
And here's where I say that we should help kids build a portfolio, and we help them build this by giving them real world projects.
Yeah,
we help them do this by
100%
this.
agree.
This is a percentage of your grade.
Yeah.
This is 15% of your grade.
Yeah.
So now they understand the scale.
Yeah.
This is 15%. It's required.
Yeah.
No exceptions. You will be docked 15% of your total grade if you don't do this.
Yeah.
And it's not a punishment.
No.
What it does is set the ground rules. What it does is start to challenge the kids. We should challenge the kids, with learning.
Yeah,
we
100%
should
agree with
challenge the kids to come up with the next thing. We should challenge the kids to, what can you do to make the world better? What can you do to make a process better? What can you do to make your life better? And then you can do these things by saying, hey, I'm not giving you the parameters other than I'm giving you the tools. It should be like Lego blocks. I should give you the pieces and say, I need something from you.
Right.
I need a sculpture. You have these pieces to build me a sculpture.
Yep.
The parameters are it has to be at least 12 inches and it has to be at least 6 inches wide. Those are parameters.
And
that's what I require.
And I think taking your science and your technology and your math courses and wrap them together, make it that to be able to leave a certain level in education, you must take a course that has all those wrapped together, and roll in the engineering standpoint if you can, if you have the ability to do it, if you have the educational power to be able to do that, if you have that support from industry to do that. Make that one course, make that one grade, do this, and guess what? We'll release you into the world. If not, you're stuck.
Yeah.
And make them show their work. Right now I can tell you, I got a calculator on my phone. I don't have to show you nothing. However, if I give you a course that talks about, STEM, I want you to show me your math. I want you to show me the science problem you used to get to this point. I want you to explain to me how you did that and what code you used.
And I think with that, a lot of educators don't understand. It's not just showing me that you understand 2 plus 2. It's showing me that you understand how to get from this piece of paper to the technology that we're using. You understand that. Like, I know you understand how to add 2 plus 2, but do you understand how I got that from this piece of paper into this computer or into that app on that phone and made it work? And a lot of our educators don't even understand how that works. That's unfortunately where we are.
Well, I think one of the things we could do as industry, for example, is we can help participate and create some of these applications we're talking about doing. Of course, we're not trying to get a kid to build an automobile or get a kid to build a robot, but we are trying to get a kid to look at the fundamentals behind what goes into an automobile, what goes into robotics.
Right.
One of my things, or what comes to me, is I believe that when you teach a kid how to make a cake, kids love cake. But when you teach them how a cake is made, now they start to peel back the layers and say, oh, I didn't know that.
It breeds curiosity.
Now I know that. Well, you have to do
now
the
I
same
know what's
thing.
involved in that cake.
Exactly. And you have to invest the same thing into the people that are investing time teaching the next generation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have to invest back into the school system.
Yeah, we need to invest back into the teachers.
I mean, we need to go back to, and we can't, but the concept of apprenticeships.
Yep.
We should have industry reaching out to the educational systems, and the educational system should be reaching out to industry.
Right.
In all industries.
And I think, touching on that point, I really think that they need us to do the shadow program. Let industry come in and shadow, the current educators right now, and bring in their input. Like one day a week, have an industry day. Hey, cool. This is now how my industry ties into what you're teaching. Have them in there learning and seeing and understanding what's being taught, and then if give the educators the ability, I know this is kind of a far-fetched idea, is give them the ability to step into industry, during a break or something like that if they feel like it. Just a couple days, come in and shadow, like what the engineers are doing, or what our robot techs are doing, or what the weld engineers are doing, or what our fitter fabricators are doing, to understand what the data that they can bring back.
I completely agree. As an educator, I would love to know those things so I can take them back to my students, because when they say, how am I going to use this in my real life, I have to Google that. Like, I have to go in and say, okay, Google, how are they going to use this? So that when that question is asked of me, I have an answer other than, I don't know, but I'll get back to you.
Yeah. I think the issues that we have now in current STEM issues is because of industry, not pushing, not being involved, being forgotten about.
Well, I think the big thing that, like I said, when we talk about STEM, we gotta be careful, because we can't just take a couple of acronyms and say, hey, this is what we want STEM to be.
Right. Exactly.
STEM is not the letters.
Right.
STEM is
the
okay.
methodology.
We want to get people excited again, like when we were trying to go to space.
Right.
Hey,
Right.
We're trying to get people excited again about the physics and the mathematics and the computer programming that goes in the algorithms and coming up with problem solving solutions and things like that. These are the things you want to do. So when I say we're going to build a robot, I don't want to build a Roomba. I want to build a robot that's more than just a vacuum cleaner.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with a Roomba. It's nothing wrong with that. What I'm saying is I want to build a robot that can do things. Maybe I build a robot that I can let go for a year in the ocean, and it maps the bottom of the ocean. Maybe we get kids to work on something like that. Not an ocean, but maybe we can do it in a lake.
Yeah.
These are the things we should be teaching kids.
Right.
Because they need that initiative to do something that nobody else has done.
Yeah, exactly.
And like you said, the Roomba, it's done. It's happened. So let's take that, what we know from that, let's be able to teach these children how to take that and do like what you said. Let's map the ocean. Let's, send it out into the desert and figure out what, as humans, we can't get to. There might be something out there we don't know because, we can't go out into the desert as far as a robot could go.
Yeah.
So, those are things that our children need to feel like they can do. And right now, as an educator, what I see is they feel like they can make a TikTok video about dancing. And unfortunately, that's not going to get them into a career.
But that's a good
stepping stone.
TikTok is a good example. Mm-hmm. They like TikTok.
Oh, they love it.
Your assignment is build me your TikTok app.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Make them build the thing that they like. Make them break down the thing that they like to a point that they can understand it.
Right.
Make them figure out a way how to add some functionality to TikTok.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
the micro level.
Use the things that they like to get them excited about making these things.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Other than showing me how to do a dance that a million other people have done, can you teach me something else?
Or make me a robot that can do the dance.
Exactly. I need you to do something that requires you to think.
And, I think that, it's just, that's where, like, for example, getting TikTok to come into like schools and stuff like that and talk to them. This is what we did to do this. This is how we did this. This is how we made your favorite app. Same thing with, who was it now? Meta, or Facebook.
No,
those guys.
Facebook is not popular anymore. I need to get with it.
I'm
I love
sorry.
you though.
But, if you start thinking about it, you start dealing with like, if you talk about, you got like SpaceX and these guys walking in there and talking as kids.
Yeah.
You can build a hell of a freaking rapport with them. But
they would love that, and they don't understand the space program.
Yeah.
I've talked to them about it. They have no clue about anything to do with NASA or the space program. They have not a clue.
And the thing is, I think
it's not popular.
I think the drive for that, I hate to say it, died, and at the end of Apollo. At the end of Apollo, the drive for people wanting to learn that died.
Yeah.
When it became, we land on the moon, we have nothing else to accomplish. Well, guess what? With Artemis, we're going back. You have no option. We're going back.
Right.
And hopefully with Artemis and stuff like that, what NASA's pushing for and what SpaceX is doing, we'll get people excited again. That is the drive, is get people excited again. And, that's where I kind of push a little bit on industry where, we have internships for college students. Why can't I have an internship in my company for a teacher? That comes in and learns what we do, how we do it, how you can teach it. And partner them with a senior person that can explain the processes and procedures, like we've talked about in the past, Ed, to understand why we do this, why we do it the way we do, what our methodology is to go back and think about it.
Can I tell you, as an educator, I would be right on that in the summer. How many days you want me there, how many hours you want me there, I'm there.
Yeah, anything to help the kids at that point.
And if, and as far as an educator, we get credit for doing those sorts of things. It goes toward our recertification. So, it's a win-win for everybody.
Right.
And it doesn't take away from us being in the classroom, because it's our time that we're giving up. But, hey, I would love to know those things so I can take them back to my children the next year.
The amount of technology we have with virtual machines, Dockers, augmented reality, I believe these environments, even if we can't facilitate today a program to bring teachers in, because the logistics have to be figured out, which I think is a great idea. Mm-hmm. However, why can we not offer these environments for the teacher where she can do a demo?
Right.
Why does industry not have demos for what they're wanting? Hey, we need the workforce to know this.
Yeah.
Well, what's the demo for? What do you want? Explain it. We was talking about TikTok. Why is NASA not doing TikTok videos?
Yeah, they do
Virtual.
YouTube, but that's about it.
No, I'm saying, but I'm getting at
Something virtually.
Yeah.
Wherever the consumption of the information is, that's where you need to be. Those are the avenues. Those are the things you need. Mm-hmm. Those are the strings you need to pull, because we have to talk the same language to the kids. Mm-hmm. You can't get mad at a kid if you can't explain to them or break it down to something that they understand.
Right.
It's not their job to learn to communicate with us. No. It's our job to learn to communicate with them.
Right.
And they don't understand why it's important. You, as the adult and the educator, know why it's important. This is why you need to know it. And I love what you said about, can't we do something to, virtually.
Yeah.
Because,
glasses.
with everything we've been through the past couple of years with COVID, teachers have become virtual experts. We can do anything virtually that you need us to do. Yep. That 2 years ago, we couldn't have done. As a 20-year veteran, I can tell you, 2 years ago, if you told me that I had to teach virtually, I would have looked at you and told you were crazy. But, today, I can do it at a snap. It doesn't take anything for me to just turn on my computer and here we go. We're teaching virtually. Let's do this. and I can make it happen.
Yeah,
And I mean, I'm not, a young teacher. I'm a veteran teacher, and I had to learn that. And I can tell you it was a struggle, but I did it. So if I can do it, I know a 13, 12, 11-year-old can do it.
And I think that's really something that, we need to start hitting on. We need to start freaking really pushing that and, get industry, behind it, and it's got to be industry everywhere. It can't just be the select few, I know that, for example, NASA, has an outreach program. I know that NIWIC, has an outreach program. And some of these, industries and, locations, they're very, dead set on, we're going to help teach. We're going to help this. We wouldn't be exploring the cosmos if we weren't wanting to bring back some sort of education to influence the next generation of explorers that's going to go out further than we did. Mm-hmm. And our goal, especially, I know we're going to go probably over a little bit of time here than usual, but, our goal, with everything that we're doing lately, the podcast and education and stuff like that, is to influence the next generation that's coming behind us. To leave that impact that, we are, not really, making a change in the world, but it's to, influence the next generation. You have people who are influencers. You have people who are influencers on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and all that other, stuff. However,
Amen.
We need to understand that, our teachers who are teaching STEM are the influencers of the next generation. And we need to support that as an industry, because if not, it's going to be a disaster. And, the thing is, industry needs to step up and recognize that we wouldn't have people in our shoes, Ed, without the people like Bridget sitting in her classroom teaching these kids at a young age. Mm-hmm. And for the kids who are catching on. Mm-hmm. And, that kind of leads us towards the end. And what I'll do is, Bridget, I'll leave you with the lasting thoughts. When you start thinking about STEM, what do you want to say? You have the floor.
I mean, it needs to be more than just industry like you guys are in. It needs to be the medical field. It needs to be educational field. It needs to be everything you could possibly think of that these children could want to do when they become adults, because they are leading our nation, and our nation is technology now, and we have no option there. It is happening. So we have got to figure out a way to bring that into the classroom and get them interested at kindergarten age, because that's when they build on it. And I will say, like, from a personal standpoint, I have a nephew. He loves technology, but he has loved technology since he was 4 years old. And he wants to do like what Nick and Ed do. Like, that's his goal in life. And, for him to be that interested in it from such a young age and still interested in it, he's 15 now. That is what we're looking for with every kid, but we're not getting that with every kid.
Yeah. And, hopefully we can make a little bit of a change, and, we'll see where it goes. And I really hope that, we can push, we'll leave a note to the kids out there, I think, is, learn this stuff, play with it, ask your parents if you really want to get involved, pick up a computer and, do like C++ if you really want to learn a more interesting version of math. If you don't think you're ever going to use math again, build a calculator in C++, you can do it. Play with Python, play with a couple of those other programming languages, get involved in it, and learn that, what your teachers are telling you means something in the long run. It's, if you think about it, even the people at McDonald's are using math, now and forever. You're not going to get away with it, and that's why we tell people this, and we always do, keep learning, stay one step above the rest. And if you don't do that, there's a good chance you're going to fail. However, catch it now, and you won't have to worry about it later. So,
can I add something there?
Go right ahead.
Kids, if you're listening, Yeah, definitely tell your teachers, tell your parents, tell whoever will listen that you like this, you want to learn more, because we want to hear that. We want to make you successful as you go into the workforce, as you become an adult. Please, please, please just continue to do that.
And I'll just leave a final thought. I would like to just go with what we're saying here is like we should keep building on this, get some steam. We should tell the kids, hey, these are the things you can do. And kids, if you're interested in these things, learn how to do it. Or leave some comments.
Yes.
If anybody listening, y'all want
ask us questions.
Leave comments. We'll answer your comments, and we appreciate the time.
All right. Have a good one. Thank you for listening to the Tech at Lunch podcast, where we hope you learned something about tech during your break or during your lunchtime. If you did, please give us a follow to prevent missing future episodes. If you have any ideas or something you want to hear or learn about, please send us a show idea to podcast@vulcanara.com. Hope you have a good rest of the day and continue learning.